And now I'd like to welcome Ferris Adi, Senior Security and Compliance Manager at Rogers. Ferris is also Director of Certification at the ISACA Toronto chapter and an instructor at the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies, Cybersecurity Certificate.
Thank you, everybody. So let's now start the journey talking about 5G. So this is securing 5G data risk management for the future of wireless technology. So this is going to be the session objectives. And for the sake of the time, we're going to see like a quick video about what's 5G. So please, can we have the video?
Most of the major smartphone makers have released 5G compatible phones for 2019 as the infrastructure continues to expand and the network gradually rolls out. The growth in the technology can be seen in the amount of 5G SEPs, or standard essential patterns, that were declared last year. Companies need to own these if they want to implement 5G technology, and in 2018 the number more than quadrupled from the year before. But 5G is not just about faster connectivity to your smartphone. Things we do every day become streamlined because of the new technology. For consumers, grocery shopping may have just got a whole lot quicker.
Behind us is retail events. You may want to have a retail pop store almost anywhere. At a concert, at a sporting event, at a convention center, and be able to do that wirelessly without requiring a lot of infrastructure build-out or laying cable or fiber. That's what 5G will allow you to do.
This is my 5G connected smartphone, and my grocery store has given me a unique QR code. So I just scan it here and start shopping. Once into the shop, I'm left to my own devices. I can just take whatever I want off the shelves, and now all I do is walk out of the store. And it all works because of these 5G connected cameras. They see what I pick up off the shelves and bill me directly to my 5G connected smartphone so that I don't have to check out. For businesses, the network's increased capacity has the ability to help operations at all stages of the supply chain. Manufacturing, for instance, would benefit from faster connectivity to manage inventory and eliminate bottlenecks. This demo from SK Telecom is a 5G connected factory, which really illustrates how 5G will be able to help industry.
The industry is getting more smarter than before. 5G can transmit more information and data from sensors to servers.
So how does this 5G connected factory work? Well, this robotic camera is taking photos of each component on the production line, and any ones that are defective are then discarded. 5G is also being adopted by the medical industry. High internet speeds could help improve the standard of care for patients. For example, let's say ambulance staff have a patient that needs complex treatment that requires the help of an expert, but they don't have time to return to the hospital. 5G could allow medical specialists to support ambulance staff for a live video link, even while they're out on the road.
When there is an event or an accident that requires a specialist, the professional has a visual view of the patient in high definition. Is also monitoring in real time the data from the different electronic equipment of the patient, so they can take decisions in real time.
Smartphones may be our first introduction to 5G, but its most significant impact may be felt in how it connects us to everything else. Hi guys, thanks for watching our video. If you want to see more of our content, then check out these, particularly this one.
Okay, so for 5G, this is the mobile bound history about 5G. So the first generation of wireless network, as all we remember, it was the 1G, brought consumers analog voice calls, and then SMS with 2G, web browsing with 3G, high-speed data and video streaming with 4G. Now 5G will open a whole new world to us, a world that moves beyond connecting people to connecting machines and mass connectivity through the Internet of Things, IoT. So not just about speed. The 5th generation of wireless technology will deliver always reliability and real-time technology with the ultra-low latency. So the lag between sending a request and the network responding will be theoretically dropped to 1 millisecond. 1 millisecond means 4 times faster than the blink of an eye. So this will allow for a massive increase in the number of connected devices and a range of applications that require quick responsiveness, like driverless cars, virtual reality, and IoT innovation for smart cities. So as you can see, super low latency, coverage everywhere, and high capacity, and cost efficiency and scalability. So this is the 5G spectrum allocation roadmap worldwide. For Canada, Canada, it's 2020, the 3.5 gigahertz, and we're hopefully by January, Rogers will launch the 5G in 2 cities, Toronto and Ottawa. So the auction for the 3.5 gigahertz band will be conducted in 2020. In April this year, 2019, 6 megahertz wireless spectrum auction has ended, and Rogers successfully secured license in every single province and territory. So this was Canada's first ever 5G spectrum auction, and this spectrum is a critical foundation to deploy 5G across our vast nation. This new spectrum band is vital and very important because it carries wireless data across long distance and through dense building and structures. So this is the 5G capabilities. It has it can handle high throughput up to 10 gigabytes. We have a large bandwidth. So LTE now has usually 200 megahertz. With 5G, it will become 100 megahertz on the 3.5 gigahertz range. With 5G, we're going to have low latency, which means we have one device per one. We can have devices, 1 million devices connected for every square kilometers. And these devices will help parents arrive homes faster for dinner by rerouting traffic. And we can provide our farmers with real-time data to save crops during drought and assist government to manage natural disasters and saving lives and businesses. So with 5G, we can all start enjoying faster upload and download speeds, among other 5G benefits. It's also about capacity and being able to get a stronger signal in crowded area. So with 5G, we're not going to have to experience the same experience we had when we were celebrating the Raptors downtown Toronto, where everybody, like 1 million people, they were trying to access to their phone to post pictures and videos. So with 5G, we won't have this problem anymore. This is a 5G service tiers that give us an idea about the use cases or the scenarios of 5G. So we're going to have massive machine type communications. We're going to have ultra reliable and low latency communications. As you can see, we have smart home buildings. We're going to have more augmented reality, industry automation, and self-driving cars. So the number of connected devices is going to grow at an accelerated rate over the next few years. I'm not sure if I'm going to shock you by this, but according to some researchers, we're going to have 75 billion devices in 2025. The global IoT industry is expected to be worth $19 trillion by 2025. So 5G will affect large numbers of customers and devices. 5G is focusing on industries and connecting the unconnected devices due to large scale and type of devices, any cybersecurity threat that may have been bigger compared to these current technologies that we have those days. So with 5G, this is a terminology, I'm not sure if you're going to hear about it soon. It's going to call network slicing. So in the same core network, we're going to have slices, and those slices, they can be per industry, it can be per customers, it can be per government, per consumers, per individual devices. So the network is also going to be at the radio network slicing. and also for the core network. The network slicing, why we care about it? Because it's going to permit the logical separation of a network so that each slice provides unique connectivity, but all slices run on the same shared infrastructure. Network slicing is a feature being introduced of 5G over time, and this is going to permit multiple service levels and customs-made services to be offered to vertical industries, individual enterprises. So as we transition to 5G cellular network, there will not be also an increase in the mobile use, but also an increase of the wireless devices like the robots, the security cameras, and also the cars that send traffic data. Again, with the network slices, those slices can have different internal structures and configurations, and they can thereby be optimized for certain use case groups or industry segment, and they operate in a full virtual separation to each other. This capability could also use to separate business concerns between the public, the interest, and the industry, also commercial interest. Now, there is something also with 5G. It's going to enable a lot terminology. It's edge computing. So I'm not sure if you heard about now edge computing, but this is one of the powerful things that is going to be enabled by 5G. So what's the benefits of the edge computing? It's going to allow us to process the data near the source, and only we send relevant data over the network to an intermediate data processor. As you can see, we have sensors and controllers, then we have the edge, and then we have the cloud. So at the edge, we can do like more data analytics, we can do machine-to-machine communication, we can do data filtering, we can do real-time data processing. And this is why we said this is the power of 5G, because it's going to be ultra-low latency, so we need like the information to be processed near the source, and only basically based on how we analyze the data, we can send the data to the cloud. Because 5G, I'm going to discuss in the next slide, it's going to enable virtualization, it's going to enable cloud computing. So the cloud, we have an issue or a challenge with the cloud because we have a big data processing. I think now, when I hear about big data, I understand what's big data. But 5 years ago, when I used to go to conference, and they keep talking about big data, big data. Now, with the large volume of data, the amount of collection of data with this billions of devices and sensors, now we're going to have what it's called really a big data. So in the cloud, we're going to have big data processing. We're going to have also the data warehousing and the business logic. The other thing with the edge computing, it can provide the outages and increase availability for the optimal site time, and this is going to help also a lot of industries like the factories to have more operational efficiencies. Now for healthcare, as we're going to see in one of the videos now, the edge computing can help us because we're going to be close to the device, so we're going to have more information about the patient, like the heart rate, and we can monitor this reliable access to life-saving and health-related data. We're going to see a demo about this and how really it can help to save lives, especially if we have like those paramedics, they are somewhere in the countryside, and we have the doctor is trying to connect them with 5G, and he's like, let's say 200, 300 kilometers away, and how we can save their lives. So we're going to see this in the next slides. Now, when I presented this 5G, in some conferences and venues, all the time somebody asks me the question, what about Wi-Fi? So Cisco, they are working on Wi-Fi 6 now. So what about 5G and Wi-Fi? So this is what Cisco is saying, that 5G will be more designated choice for outdoor doors, but Wi-Fi 6 will continue to be the access choice for the indoor networks. But my personal opinion, by 2026, 27, when we have like more maturity users of 5G, I don't think we're going to use any more Wi-Fi. This is just my personal opinion. Use cases. So because of the power of 5G, we're going to have like more enhancing mobile broadband, and this is we're going to see it by the extreme throughput, especially with the video, the 3D UHD video telepresence with the demanding conditions, the venues. We're going to see it more in the virtual reality when we have ultra-low latency, and we have more uniform experience. Tactile internet, I think it's amazing technology. It's going to be very helpful, for both industries, for the education and for healthcare because of this ultra-low latency. Connecting the mass IoT, I think 5G, when we mention 5G, we have to talk about IoT. And the mass of the IoT is going to be with the smart cities. It's going to be with those wearable devices because of the power efficient. It's going to be with the smart homes, remote sensors because of the low complexity. It has to be with the long range when we have object tracking and utility metering. So we have some utility companies in Canada where they use for now the smart metering, or they call it the utility metering, depending on the machine-to-machine connections. And also they are interested more of the object tracking and the asset tracking. So we have some GPS and we have some applications they work, but they're going to be more the long range, so they can have longer range now with the 5G to track their assets and do their analytics based on the information they receive. Now, 5G is going to enable digital transportation, and 5G is going to be enabling level 4, the high automation, and the level 5, the full automation. So this is what we call the driverless car. So we don't need a driver, the car, we have the full automation. Now, with the full automation, we have some security challenges here, which those, like, when we build those, in those cars, I think the cars company, they are receiving a lot of sensors, a lot of applications from different vendors. And I think here, the problem, they don't have the time really to test those applications if they are secure by design. And those manufacturers sometimes even, they just send those to the market. So I think we had some, like 2 incidents in the prior, like 3-4 months, where one hackers, they were able to track some of those cars, like 3,000 cars. He was able to track them at 3 different continents. He was able to shut down the engines. So in other words, those apps, they are not really secure by design. And those companies, like the companies don't really have the time to test them or making sure, before they are released to production, they are really secured. Some of them, I think one of the apps I have seen in one case, they built even the password, they are in clear text, even the password, they are not encrypted, which means, hackers, they can get access to those cars and shut down them and do whatever because they are not secure. So this is the Internet of Ransom Things, and I'm talking here about us from a consumer's perspective. So I'm a consumer now, and I started to have IoT in my home myself because I installed a new air condition, and it comes with a thermostat, and the thermostat, it has an app. I have it in my phone, and from my phone I can control, remotely, my, the temperature at home. So, and imagining now we have everything at home, our appliances, it's going to be connected to the internet. It's going to be an IoT, which means it's a threat. So as you can see, for example, in the fridge, if you are hungry, pay, and I will unlock your door. The broom here send me $25, or I will tell everyone in your social network that you are stupid enough to buy, an internet-connected broom, right? So we're gonna be, and this is the reality. And then I've seen like an article, when you go now to Home Depot, when you buy like an appliances, they're gonna ask you, can I introduce you to a firewall? You need to buy a firewall, or, So this is going to be like from consumer perspective, how secure we are to use all of this IoT. Are we prepared to use all of this, devices that IoT? So this is like a big challenge, and I can make like a whole presentation about IoT and those devices from security and privacy challenges. Now, the efficiency of the smart manufacturing, because this is of IoT, as we can see, this is going to impact the telecos and the manufacturer. As you can see, they have dedicated 5G slides. They have the outdoor 5G sites. So it's going to help a lot, with the manufacturing to detect defaults, to do the troubleshooting and apply fixes in real time. Also, we can monitor remote control over factories and locate our fleets in real time. So this is just of the power of how we use smart manufacturing because of 5G. Also, I don't want to repeat what the panel says about the healthcare. and enabling the healthcare. But with the healthcare, I know the data transfer now, we have data that has to be transferred between players. It will increase with exchange between healthcare providers. We are, as a telcos, regulators, patients, and the payers, and we're going to have increased data volumes, and exchange is going to lead to additional revenue for telco. But the challenge is going to be how we're going to rely, on the network that require investment and technical improvement of their speed, reliability, and coverage. And also, we're going to have a problem with the privacy and confidentiality, regulation and compliance when it comes to, to healthcare. Now there's a video about how the experience with the ultrasound with a haptic glove between an ambulance on the road and a hospital through VoLTE. So we're going to show you, with 5G how we can save lives, remotely in this 2 minutes video.
Here we're showing real-time interaction in 5G. So with 4G we had a real-time communication, we had voice and video. With 5G we want to add the capability to touch and move over the network. So one use case we're running on King's College in London and British Telecom is running a connected ambulance. Here we're going to show a connected ambulance en route to the hospital, and we'll step into the use case. So Teresa, you've gotten into the ambulance. We're on our way around the countryside. We have a very paramedic, but he's not a doctor. We think you injured your hand. We think we might need to do a scan for a blood clot. So Eugene is going to set up a call back to the hospital that we're around to, the emergency room. And now we have Dr. Mario popped up on the screen. So now Mario can start diagnosis and communication with the patient. He agrees we need to run an ultrasound. So we add a 5G data channel to this multi-session. And over this low latency and QoS channel, we run the ultrasound application. We have it running a PC in the ambulance. That application is carried back to the doctor. He has control of the application, as well as he has a haptic glove, haptic joystick, giving instructions to this glove.
So the doctor is actually steering the ultrasound from the hand.
Correct. So the paramedic is trained with the glove. It has an array of sensors and vibrating motors. They give instructions from the doctor in real time. So the doctor is able to communicate with you and diagnose you. The paramedic is like a surrogate or robot arm for the doctor.
Wow.
So in this scenario, we can confirm the diagnosis. We can either reroute you to a different hospital, or potentially bypass the emergency room, head straight into a theater where we can start the diagnosis, start the treatment process. So this is one example of how we can use 5G to involve communication and support the healthcare program.
And really make healthcare better for people. I think it can save lives.
Absolutely, save lives, and we save costs on the hospitals, the system, try to save really the society a lot of wasted time and effort.
Fantastic.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is now, we're going to talk about business implications, privacy, and security. So before we talk about security, let me just briefly talk about privacy challenges now with the business cases. So I think we have now an issue with the data ethics. We have an issue with transparency. We have now a large volume of data, evolving definition of data, data localization, where the data is located, individual choice, and consent. And I'm saying individual choice of consent because I might, give my consent for my data to be used, like to be collected in one way, in one way. But this data could be correlated with other data and used in a different way. So my consent was really for a specific purpose, but my data could be used for, or it's correlated with other source of data. It could be used in a different way that, I did not give my consent. So this is, I think, the privacy challenges we have. Now, the thing that it has been mentioned a lot that in our from a regulatory perspective, we don't have our charter rights, like as we have in GDPR in Europe, they have identified all of these challenges, and even with 5G, so there was like kind of evolving to identify, okay, what's my personal information, what's my data, what's the data ethics, and how I can be more transparent with data and how it makes more sense for me to give my individual choice and consent of my data to be collected and used as well. So this is still, I think it's not clear for us, and we heard back from the government they were working on a charter rights, but because of the elections now it has been, I think, put on the back burner, or it's still, we're not sure when they're gonna address it, but still for me, with 5G and all the use cases and the implications from a privacy, we have those privacy challenges that it has to be addressed from a regulator perspective. So 5G, from a security challenges and architecture, we have, as we said, we have the IoT, we talk about, because we're gonna have, vehicles talk to another vehicles talk about sensors in the road, vehicles talks to X, and we're gonna have machine to machine, and this is gonna be a threat due to peer-to-peer connections and cheap devices with no built-in security or privacy. We're gonna have more distributed architectures, and the threat is gonna be to the distributed data centers, edge computing, and network slicing. We're gonna have more and more virtualizations, and it's gonna increase complexity in the mitigating side of the channel attacks. We're gonna have multiple technologies, and those multiple technologies, we're gonna have a threat because we have multiple technologies and migrations of threats between them. So 5G, it's gonna enable, and this is all the time people ask me questions, what is gonna enable? It's gonna enable a lot of network function virtualization. So virtualization, it's one of the enablers of the 5G. And with this virtualization, we're gonna get to some, what we call it, like security challenges. This security challenges because it will be harder to rely on a physical separation when it comes to virtualization, and therefore it should be an underlying assumption the data in transit and at rest will be visible to other actors. So for example, when we talk about virtualization, the hypervisors have access to memory of functions, and they are also hosting. So the network attacks also mean there will be many compromised components running in the same environment as sensitive functions. So the hypervisor, as we said, they have access to the memory of the functions they are hosting. So it's going to be one of the challenges. Also, there will be a greater variety of configurations and topologies, which will be more dynamic. So sensitive data may be vulnerable during activities such as virtual machine migration and new machine sanitization. Now, 5G also, I'm not sure if you heard about software-defined networking. It will be also something we have to use it when we enable 5G, the software-defined networking, and it's typically based on a centralized control architecture to help to reduce the operational expenditure. Now, this is going to introduce new vulnerability, which is, for example, if there is a compromised controller, it can give the root-like access to configuration of those virtualized devices under its control, leading to data loss or loss of network security. So I don't want to go through all the security risk of virtualization because I think you know them. It's going to be very complex infrastructure. We're going to lose the site. We have lack of visibility. And as you said, out of sight, out of mind. We're going to have a lot of quick-moving workload because we might have, important data in one machine. We want to, because of the work outload, and we have over multiple virtual machines, we want to, maybe accidentally, we can move one critical data to a machine that has minimal protection. Also, communications between virtual machines are likely to be popular attack vectors. Cloud, also, we talk about it, it's going to be the cloud. Cisco, I think they are predicting by 2025, if I'm not mistaken, 95% of our data is going to be on the cloud. And 5G is going to be the driver of we have to go to the cloud by 2025, 95%. Now, everybody, I think, when you work now with security, the challenge is now when it comes to the cloud, when, very simply, we talk about identity and access management, how it's very complicated when it comes to the cloud because for example, somebody give me overly permissive access to do things, so I get more privileged access. Cloud security is all about configuration and misconfiguration. They have a lot of consequences because what you think, in one day it's really configured or right configured, it not might be the second day and beyond. So misconfiguration is a big piece here, or configuration in the cloud is peace. And also the orchestration, because now when you use like those use cases, the apps, then it goes to the cloud, then having a different player for orchestration. So it's very complex environment, I think, to manage. And this is why we have to be very careful with this from now and be more proactive. Now there are many IoT devices which can send messages to the network without any encryption. And this is one of the biggest IoT security challenges that exists there, and it's high time that all companies ensure encryption of the highest level among their cloud services and devices. Now, one of I think the key problem here with IoT devices and the people and the companies who are manufacturing those devices, they tend to focus solely on getting the app and the device to the market. They want to get the app and the device to the market as soon as possible because to attract even more funding and start growing their use base. So they need money to build security. They cannot build security and privacy by design. Why? Because it's very expensive. So they go there to the market and say, okay, if you need us to be more secure or security by design, we need money. And this is the threat in the 5G evolving architecture, and this is maybe from operator perspective. So as you can see here in the bottom to the left, we have the device threat, which causes malwares, bots, DDoS, firmware hacks, device tampering. And when it comes to the 5G packet core, we have virtualization. As I said, this is one of the threats, network security, the API vulnerabilities, the DDoS attacks, IoT core integration, API vulnerabilities. So this is some of, as you can see from the 3.5 threat in the 5G evolving architecture. Even with the slices now, per industry or per customers, you have to make sure you have security for all those slices. You have security, and the problem I think now when we go to virtualization and the cloud, we're going to lose what we call the vents and depth. Maybe it's going to be very hard to enable this or to use this in this environment. Now, the other thing I want to mention from the consequences or the enablers of the 5G, we're going to be experiencing a lot of use. There will be increasing use of open source software. So open source software, this is going to introduce new security challenges in terms of keeping a consistent and a coherent approach to security by design and prevention of deliberate security flaws. We mentioned about support for security. There is also an increasing debate in public about the importance of the user privacy and who should or should not have access to user content and its associated metadata, IP address, device, and personal identifier and location visited. And this is, we put here like what are the threat vectors for this potential security threats and what are the mitigation. When it comes to the orchestration and management, for example, we have the security event management, anomaly detection, identity and authorization, multi-factor authentication, logging and reporting. When it comes to users and devices, we have the DNS-based security, monitoring and identity authorization, multi-factor authentication, segmentation, and user access granular control. When it comes to the infrastructure and hardware, we have to make sure we have hardening products, perimeter security, securing east-west traffic. Now 5G, as I said, because it's going to enable the big data, and it has an impact on data management. And now I think you have seen a lot of, or you heard about banks and big companies, they are hiring a lot of directors for data governance or senior people to take care of data governance, because now every company is going to be like a data company. And even inside the company, some data you cannot just allow other department or group to access this data. You have to have some governance around this, who should have access to this data and what's the purpose of giving the access to this data. I'm talking about this data more to the clients and how they will use this data. So it's a big, now I think it's a big thing that is going to be impacted by 5G. So 5G will demand more comprehensive data management and 100% reliability. The organization now, they must implement and maintain data management strategy that accommodate not only the larger volume of data, but also maintain the high speed and eliminate the risk of downtime. Also now, 5G will require us to review our current database capabilities, determining whether existing platforms are sufficient to build and accommodating for rapid growth. Also 5G, as I said, because of the cloud, it will demand new hybrid cloud data management strategy that allow the enterprise to handle larger volume of data and meet higher standard of reliability, performance, and security. Now, a lot of people, they ask me this question. Now, if you are good, how we can go from good to great with this, from privacy consideration and from security consideration? I think from privacy, we should have privacy by design. This is a must. We have to have ethical uses of data. We have to enable our consumer trust, which means we need more transparency. We have to address the three-party requirement. We have to have our executive buy-in, and we need to have a compliance monitoring program. Now, for security consideration, we need security by design. This has become a must. We need complex authentication for the IoT devices. And I keep saying we need complex authentication because we're going to have billions of devices. So hackers, they're going to have easy access to those devices and data. So we need to have a complex authentication. We need to have standards for IoT devices. Those manufacturing, the manufacturers, especially the small guys, they are manufacturing this with no standard. So we need to have standard for IoT devices. We have also, do not forget about insider threat, internal factors. When I say insider threat, internal factors, I'm referring to Desjardins. I think everybody knows about the story about Desjardins. It wasn't about really security breach, just somebody has access to the data. He was able to down the data. And we have also have the Capital One, when somebody has privileged access to the clients, 2 million people, and she was able to download the information and sell it. So insider threat, we should have also to be vigilant about insider threat and internal actors. And legacy systems, that because now I think in all companies, they have a problem with legacy systems. What we do with the legacy, especially if you are in a bank and you have thousands of servers they have in the legacy and we don't have the right security for them. So how are we going to move now to 2020 and 2021 with massive billions of devices that you need to put security if you have a problem with the legacy systems. So we need to take care of this with those legacy systems and make sure we have the right security. Now my concern now, and we're going to have billions of devices by maybe 2023. How are we going to swap all these devices when we decide we have a standard? What's the plan now? If those devices, they're going to be, or those IoT, they're going to be very vulnerable to DDoS attacks and multiple attacks. And now we're going to take time to do the swap. So this is one of, I think, the consideration we have to think about them. They are very important, when it comes to about the volume of data, and we have to start doing something now to be more proactive and not, more like firefighters. As sometimes we feel, we have this culture being firefighters. We wait until something to happen. Now, maybe I should close in a positive note by saying 5G is designed by the 3GPP standard to be more secured compared to previous technologies due to the advancement happening in different layers and the business requirement. 5G is still rolling this year in different countries across many continents. The journey just started. I do believe that by time, everyone will gain more experience, including us as telecom operators, vendors, clients, consumers. The standard will keep evolving to provide better performance to everyone in the ecosystem. So thank you very much. I hope I add something to your knowledge about 5G, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much. Sorry, I still have maybe 11 minutes here, I see. So if you have, I forgot to ask if somebody has any questions on the presentation about 5G. Something I have not addressed, maybe, or you want? Yes, please.
What's the direct connection between 5G and more adoption or movement to the cloud?
Sorry, can you?
What's the direct connection between implementing 5G and companies moving to the cloud?
So I could not understand the question. What's the connection between 5G and?
You mentioned companies will be moving to the cloud, and I think you said it was 5G will be causing companies to move to the cloud?
Yeah, we're going to use 5G now. A lot of companies now, they are moving to the cloud. They are making plans to move to the cloud because, as I said, 5G is going to be enabler the virtualizations, right? So with the cloud, because we're going to have a large volume of data, and this large volume of data has to go to the cloud. So we have the edge computing to do the data more filtering, data analytics. We have to be careful what to send to the cloud. And this is maybe one of the advantages of the edge computing for have more security. But yes, we have to have like a plan from now how to use the cloud and who are the providers of the cloud and what's the security. Because even when you put use IoT devices in the cloud, when you have those solutions in the cloud with multiple player from telecom perspective, from IoT perspective, from the orchestration perspective on the cloud, very complex environment to manage. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.